Well, good evening and welcome to the Big Bad Broadcast Christmas show, the last show of the year. And God, we've been through many changes this year. We've had a good year. We had some great shows. We had Tommy Chong, Michael Carbonaro, Paul Provenza. We had so many people on the show. And of course, we have our regulars here. We have Mike Grief,
King of
the Clown College.
Merry
and
Christmas,
it's only
Frosty.
appropriate that he ripped the kid's eyes out with Frosty. And then we have Craig Mitchell, our Yoda, the guy who does everything. He's a Met fan. Let's go Mets. Let's go Jets.
We have everybody now.
We have everything. And we've had a great year on this show. We've had a lot of changes. We've lost people. We've gained people. And not even when you say lost them, nobody died. Don't get me wrong. Nobody
we just
died.
can't find them.
We just can't find them. Like. Last they were seen with Mike, so anything could have happened.
They may or may not be buried.
One thing I'll say about them all, they were delicious.
And we missed Joe Silkey. We're waiting for him to come back as soon as his job lets up. If that's ever going to happen, we're not sure. And we just had a great year. I had a kind of interesting week. I was roasted. They did the roast of Santa Claus, and we had Satan, the Tooth Fairy. In Florida, he's called the Tooth Gay. We had Jesus Christ was there, Satan.
Jesus and Satan, wow.
Frosty the Snowman, Mrs. Claus, and Rudolph. And it was kind of an interesting night.
Isn't that redundant to have Mrs. Claus and Satan there?
Ow.
Ouch. Ouch. But I think that one of us should take this to a network and sell it, man. This is such a great premise. And we had some other good acts on that would have been even much better. But anyway, we got a great show for you. We're going back again to Long Island because we're on Strong Island TV.
Yes.
And we're also on We're also on
what?
YouTube. I was going to say Netflix.
Roku.
We're on Roku. We're on our own website. We're on our own website, which is www.thebbbbradio.com.
Yep.
And we're live on Friday nights at 10 o'clock on
because I need an alibi.
Island TV.
And Facebook.
And Facebook. Twitter, and everywhere.
And Twitch.
If you can't Twitch. And if you can't find us, then it's your problem.
But
today is going to be one of those great shows. We're going back to Long Island to reminisce with some old friends that have great careers, that are funny guys. And it's just a pleasure to have them on the show. I must have known him for 40 years, I guess, And he's a good guy. He's got a great heart. And he does a lot of charitable work. And as Dave Horton would say, as a humanitarian, no one could touch him. As a human, no one wanted to. Walrus. I don't know why I said that. I don't know why I brought that up. But anyway, he'll know what that is. He'll know it's funny. Anyway, so I think we have a little bit of stand-up, and then we'll get into talking to him.
We do.
And I think this is from Caroline's, which unfortunately, New Year's Day is the last day.
It looks like Caroline's, but I think it's the Just for Laughs. Whether that's a Caroline's or not, I'm not sure. But
they stole the Caroline backdrop.
Yes.
I love my wife and kids with all my heart. That's what I live for. I really do. I love them. But we don't get along. We don't. And that's the whole battle between men and women, because women will never understand that men only want 4 things out of life. And ladies, I'm sorry I'm being so blunt, and guys, I'm sorry I'm giving up our secret, but all men want out of life is 4 things. We want to eat, sleep, poop, and have sex. That's it. If it doesn't fit into one of those 4 categories, ladies, we really don't care about it. And ladies, if you're here tonight with a guy who's telling you anything different, he is lying to you to get to one of those 4 things. And at this time of night, it's not eating, sleeping, or pooping. He wants to have sex with you. For me, just do it. Please, just do it. If you do it right, it takes 3 minutes. Just do it. That's all we really care about. I wish I could say we cared more, but we don't care if the wallpaper matches the drapes. We don't care what kind of potpourri you just put in the bathroom. We don't care what your new slippers look like. Unless you're wearing them while you're having sex with me. then we really care what they look like.
I would say, what's it means about a great comic is, and that's a pretty old clip, and the material still stands up today.
Yeah.
And when one of the great comedians of our time, one of our great comedians of our time.
We have effects, man. He came ready.
Joey.
There we go.
Santa.
If you place that just right,
I can't shut it off now.
Smash it. Smash it.
I'm trying
Smash
to shut
it.
Anyway,
I
introduce him.
can't-
Nobody said his name.
Joey
Well,
Kola.
I'm trying
to get it off. Hold on a second.
That's
Give me
scary.
2 more seconds.
Great, Rankin Bass.
You ruined my great moment.
Rudolph, the
Joey.
red
I'm
nose.
sorry. You were
All right.
giving me a great intro, and
Yeah,
I
it
messed
was.
it up.
What I was going to say is that's what a really good comic is. A good comic is that isn't a new clip, and yet the material still holds up today. But more important than that, I think we're going to go right to this right away, is when you get the respect from the people you respect, that means that you've made it. So show that clip, because that's the greatest.
That's my daughter.
This is George Carlin, just calling to say that the reason I asked to get that Caroline show that Joey was on is because I just really like him, and just enjoy his style. He's aggressive and very New York, a lot of energy, and I like that. It's just a personal thing. I just didn't want you to be thinking maybe I was having some kind of a project or a show I was putting together, because I'm not usually involved in that kind of stuff. I sort of do my own little stand-up and let it go at that. So I didn't want to raise any, fake flags here on what my intentions were. I do enjoy listening to Joey, and that's the only time I'd ever seen him. And if you wouldn't mind, if you're able to send me, if you have a reel with a lot of his appearances or something, I'd love to watch him. And I just like certain kinds of comics. It's a personal fan kind of thing, and I'd love to see more of his shit. You can send them to me at my home. I'm in Los Angeles. I'm not there now, but I live in Los Angeles, and it's 1520. Hi, just to continue with that address, Jeff, if you're able to send me a tape, I'd love it. 1525 Old Oak Road, Los Angeles, 90049. And I hope I run into Joey one of these days, and I can tell him myself how much I enjoy it. And thanks very much for any consideration. Bye-bye.
Wow.
Yeah, that was an amazing time for me.
Did
It
you ever
really
get to
was.
meet him?
Yeah, many times. We got to talk on the phone.
Such a
and,
good guy.
Yeah, he came to see me at the Riviera in Vegas, and he invited me and my opening act, Pete Voros from Connecticut, was with me at that time. He invited us both to the Valleys to go. He was doing a show at what the Jubilee Theater is or was, and we went to go see him 2 nights later. And I saw him walk a bunch of people. As a matter of fact, we talked about that. And then we had a sandwich and a beer one time in New York when he was here. He called me, but we'd be on the phone a lot, talking about a lot of different things. And I'll never claim to have written anything with him or for him, but one of the conversations that we had about God, because I'm really into God and stuff, and he said, kidding around one time, that he prays to Joe Pesci. So I started doing Joe Pesci in the conversation. Funny how, like a clown. And then I had this whole bit about Joe Pesci making ambrosia, and he liked that. So later on in one of his specials, he did a whole bit about him. He prays to Joe Pesci, and it came from the conversation that him and I had, because he sent me a bunch of his specials, and I sent him all the tape that I had at the time. And I was with Jeff Sussman, it was my manager, and I was with William Morris at the time. So as soon as we knew that he had interest in me, not only did I, as a comic, want to be his friend as much as I could, but all the people around me were like, "Oh my God, this George Carlin is interested in Joey, so let's try to perpetuate this as much as we can." But it was nothing more than a friendship,
So
Yeah, cool. I was working in Atlantic City, and he came to my show. And then after the show said, "Hey, come on, let's go to the bar and have a beer." And we stood there at that bar probably for like 3 hours. I didn't want it to end. because I felt like I was talking to Yoda.
Wow.
And,
yeah.
and it
That's
was
so
just
cool.
it was just an amazing thing. And then he came back the next night, asked me if I wanted to drive back to the city with him, and I had another show on Sunday, but I was tempted to even get in the car and then take the bus back to Atlantic
I would've
City.
done that.
Yeah.
All I have is the recording of him calling the cops and putting the order of protection on me.
And yeah, and then when I was working in Vegas, he was working in the room. You talk about walking people. The PBA tour was there, right? And there was like 20,000 PBA tour people. And he comes walking out, and his opening line is, "Golf takes up too much space in this country."
Yeah.
It's did the whole golf bit, and they are leaving in droves.
Wow.
Yeah. I got a picture of him and I from when he came to see me at the Riviera, and I keep that just next to my bed, and just as a reminder, no matter how bad things get in this business or things change, at least I had that moment, you know. It's a series of moments. That's why I'm glad to be here with you guys, because we have a history. We know each other such a long time. And, you know, on Long Island here, more comics came from Long Island to the Tonight Show or any other part of show business than any other geographical place. And now, from my generation or our generation, the only ones that are really left here is me, Peter Bales, Truson, but he doesn't really do it anymore, and Melvin. Other than that,
but you know what,
I'm
though,
the
Joey,
only one
anywhere I
here.
go, no matter where I go, I talk about comedy. And then when they find out I'm from New York, Long Island, they always go, "Do you know Joey Kola?" Everybody
No,
knows
they don't.
Joey. Yes, they do.
Really?
I was talking, not long ago to Billy Gardell, and he's a good friend of mine. And he's like, he goes, "Oh my
Yeah,
God."
no,
He goes,
Billy.
"I remember hanging out in Long Island." He goes, "Joey Kola." You know, everyone, they just know.
And then the next question they ask is, "Zabrowski dead?"
He was dead 30 years ago. Just nobody told him.
Oh man.
I tell, what's his name? Oh geez, the dishwasher from the East Side,
Judd Apatow?
Judd Apatow.
Yeah, he's another guy.
Was on a podcast, and he goes, "Whatever happened to Zabrowski? He's my favorite comic from Long Island. I love that guy."
He calls me every once in a while, Jeff. We talk about fishing.
He's so nuts.
He's nuts. He's nuts.
He's watching.
Yeah, Judd Apatow was just on the Drew Barrymore show, and he was promoting something, and he heard my voice, and he in a commercial break, he went, "Oh my God, that's Joey Kola." And I said, "Ladies and gentlemen, Judd Apatow." And he goes, "Do you remember the last time you said that sentence?" I said, "Yeah, it was at Governor's on a Wednesday," because he used to go up on a Wednesday at my Wednesday show at Governor's. So I luckily, I mean, we all have had the blessing of being able to rub shoulders with a lot of people. I mean, I got a great Jimmy Fallon story where I'm warming up the Rosie O'Donnell show on the 8th floor of 30 Rock, and I feel this tap on my shoulder. I turn around, and it's Jimmy Fallon. It's like, "Hey, Jimmy, how you doing?" He goes, "You don't remember me, do you?" And I go, "You're Jimmy Fallon from Saturday Night Live." He goes, No. Let me tell you what happened. And years ago, when he was 17, him and his dad came in. He had a guitar and a troll doll to the Comedy Works in Albany. Remember Tom Nicky had that room?
Oh, I remember.
It was right off 87 on the right there in the Comfort Inn. So he wanted to go up. And the other two comics that I was working with and whoever was managing the club for Tom Nicky said no. Saturday night, full house. So I said, "Just wait, just have a seat in the back and hang out. Don't worry." So the other two comics go up. I'm in the middle of a 45-minute set. And I say to the audience, "I got to go to the bathroom, but I got a friend of mine who's going to entertain you." And I bring up Jimmy Fallon.
Wow.
And he does like 5 minutes. He's 17 years old. His dad's there. I felt bad for the kid. And he didn't do well, but at least I brought him up. Then a year later, same thing happened at Bananas in Poughkeepsie with Harlan and Arlene Jameson. And he reminded me of these stories. So then he said to me, he goes, "Someday I'm going to have my own show, and I'm putting you on it." I said, "Don't worry about me. I'm fine. I got to warm up and stand up. I'm good. Don't worry." And so 2 years after that, I see him at the Toronto Comedy Festival. And he comes running up to me. He goes, "I'm going to get my own show, man. I'm putting you on it." I said, "All right, cool. Whatever happens." And then sure enough, April 1st, 2010, he put me on his show.
Nice.
And it was
cool.
isn't that a great story of
That is a great
coming
show.
around full circle?
Which is my philosophy. Very, very nice to everyone you meet on the way up, because they might get there before you and need an opening act.
Yeah. Well, I have a lot of good things have happened, but I got to tell you, I'm really I'm not a rich man on paper, money wise, but I'm a really, really rich man in that, I got my wife, my kids, everybody's healthy, knock on wood, and I live in the same house for 35 years. We're together 42 years, and I feed birds.
God,
I feed
I
my
can't
birds.
believe it's 42 years. I remember when you guys got married. I remember when you guys got married.
42 years since I met you at Dixon.
Wow.
We're together 42 years. We're married 35, but I'm doing stand-up 42 years. And when I met you and Hawthorne and Woodsy and everybody at Dixon's, I was with John Bizarre and Feiberger and all those guys, and Weiss and Feynman. And that's when I met you guys at Dixon's. And actually, I might have met you at the Crow's Nest that Jackie had way before then.
These were the legendary days.
Man.
Yeah, I was just hanging out at that point. I wasn't even doing any kind of stand-up, but I got the life that I want. You know what I mean? I got everything I could have ever asked for. And like I said, I keep my life simple. I feed birds, I raise butterflies in the summer, I plant plants, and I make people laugh, and that's it. Other than that, no more complication. And then when I lean back and I give it to God, He gives me whatever I want. So
I got a funny Joey Kola story. Years ago, which he won't remember. Years ago, I used to book Billy's Burlesque. And I hire the comedians. So I hired Joey. You'll never remember.
Billy Dean.
I hired Joey to open for Billy Dean's male burlesque show. And he was like, I'm really kind of nervous. I never did this before. And I'm going, just get on, do it, get your money and get off. Right?
Yeah.
So he goes out and he's killing. He does this bit. I forget what the bit was, but he kills. And then all of a sudden gets nothing for the next 5 minutes because he doesn't realize you were still really new at this. And you were a little bit nervous because it was but you had just done the same bit that you just did.
I did the same bit twice?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh my God.
You killed the first time. You absolutely killed. And the second time, the people in the audience are going, like, didn't we just hear this?
Deja vu. God, I don't
remember that.
And you were like, it was like it wasn't even a comedy club. It was like some club in Medford or something. And you were, I just remember sitting there with Billy and Billy going, he just do this bit.
It's good to know that, I wasn't the only person who was nervous before you went up.
But anyway, but it was just so funny.
And
then after you did that bit, you killed again, right? And you walked off and you go to mess. You go, I just don't understand it. I killed. You never said you killed. You go, I did so good. I really had him. And then I lost him. Then I had him again. And we go, yeah, because you did the bit twice. And you were like, I can't believe it. I cannot believe I did.
I don't remember that particular incident, but I know that every comic has done that.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
Which is one of our biggest fears,
Oh, yeah, especially when you're doing 3 shows. When you're in the middle of the 3rd show, like, did I do this already?
How about when Hal Spear Chuckles?
How about when Hal Spear used to end it? You go, bubblegum, dating, girl. Oh, good night.
I love Hal.
What do you got?
Recently, about 2 years, what am I saying? About 5 years ago, something happened to me, which is every comedian's worst nightmare. I had a bout of transient global amnesia. And it was me and Richie Byrne. We drove to do a YMCA for Bobby Gonzo in Jersey. So it was just a one-nighter, and Mike Marino happened to be hanging out. And Bobby Gonzo was there with Danny C. and all these, all the comedy people. And there was 500 people. It was EMS. It was cops. It was a big buffet, high stage, lighting bar. It was, a big show, but it wasn't like a Joey Kola show. Like, they didn't come to see me. It was like comedy night. So they didn't know, the audience didn't know who they were getting. So Mike Marino happened to be in town. So he said to Gonzo, you mind if I MC? So Gonzo said, sure. So he did about 10 minutes up front. And he's a headliner, Mike Marino, So he did about 10 minutes up front. Then Richie Byrne did about a half hour. Then there was a 10-minute break. for them to eat and stuff. And then Mike went back up and did 5 minutes. Then he introduced me. And I get on, ladies and gentlemen, Joey Kola, I get on stage and I forgot my act completely because I have 2 stents in now. And I was on a beta blocker. And it's also a psychological drug. And I weaned myself off of it. So I've been off of it for 14 days before that gig. And taking myself off of it made me have this transient global amnesia episode. And I was just like, hey, how you doing? How's everybody doing? And now the other comics are yelling my act to me, do the cat bit, do this bit, do that bit. And I said, I'm sorry, I can't. So Mike Marino, luckily he's a headliner. He got on stage, he handed me some water and said, listen, he's got the flu. He gave it a shot. He couldn't do it. I'll close the show out. And I walked off. And I had something to drink. And they thought I was having a stroke because the EMS was coming to the side of the stage now. And But it was a transient global amnesia episode. It happens once to people over 50. And it happened to me because I came off that beta blocker, which I was taking for my heart. But it's a common thing. And since it happened to me, I know 2 other friends that it happened to. And when I went to my doctor, he said that he treated he didn't tell me which team. It was a Met or a Yankee. And the baseball player was in the batter's box with like a 2-1 count. And then he called timeout, stepped out of the box, walked back to the dugout and told the manager I forgot how to hit.
Wow.
What?
Now, yeah, you remember things right away. Like on the way home that night, I did my act twice for Richie Byrne in the car. But for that 20 minutes, half hour, totally forgot.
So this is a common thing for people who have the stints, or
it's transient global amnesia episode.
Well, let me ask you, did you remember who you were? Like, did you remember?
Yeah, I know who I was. I knew who everybody was. I knew where I was. I wasn't physically damaged at all.
Right.
It was just something that clicked in my brain.
I had that happen on the evening at the Improv.
Did you?
I came out and I had been sick and I had taken, Theraflu and, all this stuff for 2 days. And I had slept the whole day. I didn't even know it was the same day. And Rory's like, come on. You got to go do this. And I went out there and I was doing linking rings, for God's sake. I could do them in my sleep. I had one joke that I was going to open with, and I went out and absolutely 100% blanked out. If somebody said to me, here's $1 million, what's your next line? I'd have to say,
yeah.
But what happened was, on mine, it was really quick. I mean, I kind of caught myself, and I just said, because I knew those guys that shot the show, and I go, I need to start over completely. And then I was okay. But it was, it was the weirdest thing in the world.
See, the people say that's when you were zapped out by aliens. And so you spent a lifetime, in that moment, you spent a lifetime on an alien planet, and then they zapped you back in.
I'm scared now. I've been on beta blockers for 16 years. Now I'm scared.
What, you forget your
How
act?
much
Probably
a
good thing. Hey, I'll be here all week.
Why not? Why not? Everyone else forgets it. Hey, let's go. Anyway.
How much do you take?
50 milligrams twice a day.
15?
50.
50. Okay.
Or 25. I don't know.
I'm putting on my Christmas glove.
I was just taking 12.5. Then he bumped me up to a 40, and that's what I do. I take 140 a day.
Well, I take mine for a benign irregular heartbeat. That's what I take mine for.
That's why he gave me mine originally, because it stops you from having a major heart attack.
There we go.
What do you take for your balls, Joe? What do you
I'm going to take more than.
I got hearing aids in, too. You want to see those?
Oh, my gosh.
10 years ago, we'd be talking about who's got the best weed.
Yeah,
I've got
a
Atenolol right here. Do you need some Atenolol? I got it right here. There you go.
This will cure everything. Tommy
I got Bell's palsy in my right side of my face, and then 6 years ago, and then 2 years after that, I got it in the left side of my face.
Now, Joey, is this from eating? Is this from bad diet? Or is this hereditary?
No, the Bell's palsy was from but the
other
wives'
stuff.
tale. A cold breeze hit me in the face.
Well, anyone could get like Bell's palsy comes and goes. I know. I'm talking about the other stuff, the stents and all that. Is that hereditary for you, or is that like
hereditary? Yeah, it's hereditary. Yeah. I mean, I lost 17 pounds since that happened, I'm watching what I eat now. I'm not a Garvone now all the time, but
I'm trying to lose about
Joe
a half an
Moffat
acre
had that
myself.
Bell's palsy really bad.
Yeah, he did. I talked to him about
Yeah.
it. His never went away because he never treated it with acupuncture, or you got to take antiviral drugs and steroids too, prednisone. So
Look at
that's
us
what I
getting
did.
old. We're all getting. At least we're getting older, right? It beats the alternative. I just got.
Hey,
You
I
guys
just
are
came
young.
from the doctor. I got a freaking blood clot in my leg. It's like fucking.
oh,
I used to be made of freaking iron and steel and punch through walls, and now it's like I got to take a thing for this, and
yeah. Now
my
now
left
you
nut
just want
isn't right. I got to take a little something for the left nut.
You just
Something.
want a steady piss stream now. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all. That's all. If you can
That's true.
pee steady, that's the main thing. That's
But
all.
speaking of, well, we already had you like that call from George Carlin. I actually, well, at your suggestion, I found this on of you and with a celebrity. I wanted to share this one too.
But gold won't bring you happiness when you're
that's
growing old
Jesus,
like
yeah.
I am. The world is the same. You'll never change it. Go ahead, Big Daddy. As sure as the stars shine above, you'll know that till somebody loves you. So find yourself somebody to love.
Ah, look at that.
Yeah,
What a beautiful moment.
He was just an amazing person. I got to know him from warming up all these TV shows, and every time he showed up, it was like old school show business. He'd show up, he'd get in the building, he'd get in the green room, and no matter what I was doing, he'd send somebody to get me. Where's Joey? Tell him to get back here. I want to have a cup of coffee with him. And
Awesome.
it was
That's
just
what I
great.
mean. That's what I mean. Everyone loves Joey. I've never heard anyone say. I've never heard anyone say, "Fuck," a bad word about Joey Kola. I have never. And if they did, I would break their neck. But I've never heard it.
Yeah.
I've always tried to just help everybody, and then you get help in return. I'm very spiritually based, in the teachings of Christ, but I also read the Torah and the Quran and the tenets of Buddhism and all of it. And when my mother passed away in 1986 in a car crash, John, you remember
Oh,
this?
yeah,
you guys
God.
probably remember that. She was. They were coming back from seeing me at the Comedy Stop at the Trop. And my parents were in a car crash, and my mother was killed, and my father lived on. And then I took Steve-O's audition. Steve-O took my audition for Star Search, and he wound up getting the show. And I hadn't gone on stage in a month, and I was drinking NyQuil, and it was a very bad time in my life because I was very close to my mother. And then Steve said, "I'm going to LA to do Star Search. I want you to come out and coach me. I'll pay for your whole way." And he did. And I went out and stayed with him, and he beat Jackie and he beat Martin Lawrence. And then after he lost on the show, we stayed with Mulrooney and Rich Jenny at their apartment, and they actually got me on stage.
And the Arsenal.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
That's so funny. I stayed with Mulrooney the first time I came out here too.
Yeah, that was a whole nother thing. But so they helped me get my life back together, and I found this strength. I only middled in my career for like 8 months because after my mother died, I can't explain it to this day. I got this strength about me where I just started writing like crazy and spitting out energy, and I just started
Because your mother started managing you.
Yeah, I bet you. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. That's a
You
good
still
way to
have the
put it.
same manager. You said was Sussman. It was me, you. There was a whole gang of us. There was
it was
Kevin,
a bunch of us. Ted
Kevin
Alexandro,
James,
Kevin
Ted
Myers,
Alexander.
there was a bunch of us. Peter Bales, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Joe Rogan.
so when that happened, with my mother, I rectified it. Like I said, let me try to make sense of this. And life is a line, it's just think of a straight line, and then we are a dot in the middle of that line. Us being alive, a small dot in the middle of that line. And that's all the people that are alive now, a finite amount that you can count. And when you snap your fingers, 5,000 just left, 5,000 just came in. Another snap of the fingers, 5,000 just left, 5,000 just came in. And the people on that side of the dot are the souls that have been here and gone. The people on this side of the dot are the ones that haven't gotten here yet. So they're the majority by far. We are a very, very small minority in just being alive and it's going to end whether you get 9 years or 90 years. So how don't you have faith knowing that everybody that's been here and gone and the ones that aren't here yet are somewhere? That energy is somewhere. So you should, what I did is I did my homework as to where that somewhere can be. And in that, it brings you to religion, various religions. And that's why, and I knew that very, very young, even before my mother passed away. But after that happened, I was enlightened with that. And that's the way I live my life. I'm mentoring comics, but I'm also involved in 32 different charities. And even on the basic level, like there's this thrift store that we go to in Westbury and Levittown. It's called Unique. And around this time of year, I grab my daughter and I grab my son if he's around, and you get $100 bill, and you go to these thrift stores and you see whole families in there trying to make Christmas, out of, with nothing. And then you walk up to them, whether it's, dad or mom or whatever, and you say, puppy, and give them $100 bill. And it's the greatest feeling ever. It's cause and effect right there.
Yeah.
So I do that type of stuff a lot. When my friends' daughters used to sell Girl Scout cookies, I used to buy like 10 boxes. I ate a lot of them, but I would bring them into the city. So when I would go, when I was warming up any one of the shows, whether it was Rachel or Rosie or Martha, whatever it was, I'd go to Penn Station and I'd put the cookies in my backpack, and I'd find homeless people to give the Girl Scout cookies to. So one day I walk into Penn Station, there's this older black woman, she's looking through a garbage can. And I said, "Excuse me, ma'am, do you like Girl Scout cookies?" She turns around and she looks at me and she goes, "You wouldn't happen to have a box of tag-alongs?"
Always tag-alongs.
As a matter of fact, I take my backpack, I unzip it, I hand her a box of tag-alongs. At that point, I was gone. She grabbed the box, looked straight up, and she goes, "Oh, Lord, Lord." Because out of nowhere, I gave her a box of tag-alongs. And it was the greatest feeling for me to be able to do that. Now, if you're in touch with what's going on around you, you can feel that every day. And that's what I try to do with my life, whether it's with my family, strangers, friends. My brother just found out he has prostate cancer. So now I'm putting all my energy on him. I bought him 6 gallons of pomegranate juice the first day. And, you focus towards that stuff because, there's a lot of stuff that's coming around that's bad and things that happen bad. But if you keep your eyes open and you use your strength and energy, you could turn that to a good if you call on some extra help. And that's just the way I try to live my life.
I always do the same. I try to put more positive energy into the universe than the negative energy. And I also believe, I don't know if there's such a thing as good and bad. I think it becomes good or bad when you put your opinion on it. It's kind of a Zen thing. Everything just is. And it's a chance to either learn something or to change something. I mean, the touchstone of growth is pain, right? So if something's causing you pain, it's an opportunity to grow.
Right. Well, I guess there has to be a little bit of pain with everything that's worth getting. Is that what you're saying?
No, not necessarily, but it's just that it's not to look at bad stuff necessarily as something bad. It's just something that is. And it's an opportunity to make a change, maybe,
Yeah. Like this past Thanksgiving, my wife's cousin, actually her uncle, passed away. We watched the parade, and then we were watching a film that my son works at IFC, and he's doing really well there. And he bought this. He gave the green light to a film that's now got Oscar consideration. So we were watching the film. It's a documentary called Bad Acts. It's about a town in Michigan. So we were watching that film, and my daughter gets a call from our cousin, say Uncle George has passed away. So I said, "Well, what happened?" He said, "Well, Andrew found him, and he's there with him now." I said, "Is there anybody with this kid?" He just found his dad. Nobody's with him. So I jumped in the car and went from Belmore to Holbrook and just sat with him all day. And because it was Thanksgiving, we couldn't get the medical examiner to come to the apartment for like 5 hours. So there's me on the couch with my Uncle George's dead body, he's purple, waiting for 5 hours for the ME to come. Well, there was cops there and everything, but then they left one cop there. And I told Andrew, I said, "Go home or just go out. I'll sit with him." So my Thanksgiving after the parade was 5 hours sitting with my wife's uncle's body.
Wow.
And I was talking to him. I prayed over him and everything. And if anything happens to me or people around me now, I know things are okay. I mean, I don't think things are okay. I know things are going to be okay.
Yeah,
Joe, you've always been really generous of spirit. I mean, like, hey, a couple of years ago, out of nowhere, I contacted you to do a little bit for my cooking, my 12-minute cooking show at the time, and you were more than generous with that.
Yeah, well, that was a career move that I wish I never did.
But you know what?
That was a lot of fun.
My memory goes back to like 1987 at Eastside. You guys started a writing group where once a week we would get together and do writing. And I remember I was with Howard Jacobson.
Right.
And we were like, watching from the outside, and you were like, bring him in. Come on in. And you actually invited me and Howard in, and we were like, I mean, God, we were brand friggin' new. And you guys
we would have those writing. We'd go to Eastside during the day, and John, I think you would air.
We have to do this stuff.
You would air. It was Kelly Rogers. It was Myers, Richie,
Joe DeLion, Bales.
There was a bunch of us, and what we would do is we'd come to the meeting, like 10 of us, right? And you'd have to bring topics. You could bring anywhere from 3 to 10 topics, and we'd all sit around and we'd spit the topic out, like bananas, and then we'd go around the table and everybody would just come up with an idea that's funny about bananas, and then you'd spit another one out, puppies, and then
that is so cool.
Everybody would talk about puppies. And then you'd feel like a third one out, tree branches or whatever. And then the next guy would go and spit his subject, and you'd give him ideas about that. Yeah. And we'd go all the way around. We'd do it twice or 3 times, and then we'd separate and have to write setups to the punchlines or punchlines to the setups or the ideas. And then we'd go eat. We'd probably go to a diner or that Burger King that was across the street from Eastside. And then we would come back that night and just do the new material.
Put them on stage.
And you couldn't do the old material because you were with other comics that knew your act so well.
Right.
That they'd go, no, stop. That's an old bit. Don't do that. Do what we wrote today. I mean, it wasn't in front of a lot of people.
That's a supportive community. See, that's why so many famous people come from Long Island. That's why so many great comics come from Long Island.
I think it was a Tuesday night they did that.
Richie told me that Kevin James and Adam Ferrara admitted to them years later that they just wanted to be part of the group so bad that they were actually doing their acts that we hadn't known because they were new. So that we would think that they were really good comics.
Yeah.
Speaking of Adam, man, we talk about
we had Adam on the show.
We had Adam on the show. Yeah.
And you came up, isn't that right? Didn't we?
He has the Joey Kola story.
We can show it. We can show this. You want to show
the clip?
Yeah,
you really?
Clip.
Yeah. Let's show the clip of what Adam said. Here we go.
Back home, I was doing the gig with Joey. So the cop pulls us over because I had a busted headlight. And Joey's in the car, goes,
"Hey man, I'll talk to the police. All right, my brother's on the job, and I know how to talk to these guys. You just let me handle this. I don't want you to worry. You are with me."
I said, "Fine, Joe. Go right ahead." Cop comes back. "Mr. Fraud, there's a warrant for your arrest. Step out of the car."
"Hey, I just met this guy. He's giving me a ride home from a gig. I got a wife. I got kids. I got a dog. I grow mint. I got basil. I'm a Cozy O'Donnell bought me
a boat." That's a true story, man. We were working up in Bear Mountain somewhere. We had to take the Palisades Parkway down, and we got pulled over, took the car and everything. So I had to drive home, and I didn't know how to drive a stick. So
the story went on for he told that story.
I love it though.
He 30 minutes.
Sold him down the river.
Yeah,
30 minutes.
I destroyed his transmission from the Palisades Parkway all the way back to Belmont.
He goes, even in jail, I could smell the clutch burning.
Yeah, I destroyed his clutch, man. The smoke from the clutch burning was coming in the car. That's how bad I was blowing it out.
I just love the fact that he's like, I grow basil.
Yeah, that used to be my thing years ago. I used to grow tons of basil, and one time, you remember a comedian named Tom Hertz?
Oh yeah,
He became a writer and everything. So I had a ton of basil, like a big bag of it, and Manfrotati wanted it. So I'd give Manfrotati a bunch of basil. So I worked with Tom Hertz on Long Island, and I said, do me a favor, bring this in. You're going to see Manfrotati? He said, yeah, I'm going to see him in New York. So I said, give him this basil. So Tom Hertz is walking up Broadway with this big bag of basil.
Oh, no.
And this cop on the beat sees him with the bag, and he goes, "You against the wall." He throws everything on the floor. He's got Tom Hertz up against the wall. He goes, "What is that? Is that pot?" And he goes, "No, it's basil." And this was years ago. Like he actually thought it was pot. He goes, "No, open it." And Tom Hertz is the quietest, low key guy. But we had the cop wind up smelling it, and he gave it to Manfrotati at Stand Up New York that night.
Tom, I have a Tom Hertz story. I was doing a gig one time, and Tom Hertz had this joke about the brand new Volkswagen Beetles, and I always loved it. But I was on stage, and I used to do a bit about my car, and I asked somebody, "What kind of car do you have?" And he said, "I have a new Volkswagen Beetle," and I did Tom's joke. And I felt really bad about it. So I called Tom. Like the next day, he said, "Tom, I got to tell you what happened last night at this place. Blah, 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 blah." I came out. I did your bit. I'm so sorry. I would never do it again. And he was pissed. Oh, my God. He goes, "What do you do? What do you mean you did my bit? How could you do it?" I go, it just hit my mind and I did it. I'm really sorry. He goes, "Well, don't do it again. Are you doing it anywhere else?" I'm like, no. So, yeah, he was low key, but, man, I'm
doing it in Poughkeepsie tonight.
I pissed him off so bad. You can't use a joke anymore. It's kind of un-PC, but still.
No, that's why I wrote everything that I ever did in my act. I wrote except one joke. You remember the cook at Chuckles, the big guy, Chris?
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah. I know Chris.
So one day he comes up to me and he goes, "Man," I thought of this joke. He goes, "It's perfect for you, blah, 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 whatever." And so he tells me, and it's hilarious. So I forget where Bananas. I was in Bananas, I think, in Jersey. And I do my act, and afterwards I'm with Ben Creed. And he comes up to me and he goes, "Man," he goes, "you are one funny guy." He goes, "You're so," and he goes, "You can tell you're original in this." And he goes, "But you have this one joke, and it's mine." I just like, let me tell you something. I tell him that, and he goes, "Yeah." And I'm like, "You, that son of a bitch." The one time I freaking take a joke from somebody and it turns out to be somebody else's. It did fit me perfect, but I told him I wouldn't do it anymore.
Ben Creed and who was the other guy? His friend? I used to call him Ben Creed and Nick. Who was the other guy?
Mick
Lazinski. I used to call him Ben Creed, Mick Lazinski, or whose act is it anyway? Oh, they had the same act. They both really did the same exact act.
Well, then I'm going back to use that joke because that.
I'm serious. They used to do the same act, the two of them. They were friends, and it's like they would just like do each other's acts. It was
that's
the
like
funniest.
Labriola.
Like Minervini and I on the
if you ever
cruise
run
ship.
out of stuff on stage, just do some of my stuff. And he goes, "If I run out of stuff, I'll do something." I said, "Yeah, I don't care. Do it. I don't give a shit. You can use my freaking material if it'll work for you."
Or it's like, or it's like when I was doing cruise ships and Minervini goes, "Oh, you know that joke you just did? I wrote a tag for it." And I go, "Richie, that's not funny." He goes, "Believe me, it works."
Richie's
in the old days, you get hurt for that because that was one of those things where I remember
to Richie like a couple of times a week still.
Yeah.
Well,
but stealing is one of those things I remember. That's something a comic would hurt you for.
Oh yeah,
for stealing material. In the old days, now.
It was. I didn't mean to do it. It just came out, and that's why I called him immediately. Said because I didn't want to get that reputation. I was like, "Dude, I'm sorry. I wanted to fess up." Yeah.
Yeah. Well, John, you actually, I think, mentioned one time that I took one of Don McHenry's lines about the dog shit freezing.
Oh yeah, kick it to Jersey.
No, I don't do kick it to Jersey. I just do a whole thing about dog shit freezing, and that was organic because that's my life.
Right.
It still is my life because we got the one dog, but my daughter drops her dogs here, and there's a small area in the backyard that I didn't cement over, and that's where they all go. And no matter how much I complain about it, I still got to clean up all the dog shit. And to this
Welcome-
day, I have
welcome
the
to
same
my
anger.
world.
Yeah, I had the same anger that I had when I wrote that bit, but I don't remember Don McHenry doing anything like that.
His only
but,
joke was he goes, "The best part of living in New York is dog shit freezes. In fact, the best part about it is you can kick it to Jersey." That was the whole
really?
bit. Yeah, that was the
Yeah,
whole
that's
bit.
yeah. I do a whole different chunk on
Oh
it. But
shit! I
you
gotta
know,
call Dom
so-
Kennedy now.
Hold on, Joey. Let me write down your bit. And what was that?
but there's a bunch of comedians. There's one in particular right now. Won't mention him by name. That Mulrooney had to call up and talk to, and Labriola had to talk to, and I.
Yeah, I know
He was
exactly
doing my
who you're
act
talking
word
to.
for word
Yeah.
for word.
Really?
And he did. Yeah, and he did it on a local cable show. He did Mulrooney word for word.
Yeah,
He's
because he's a dirt
big now.
bag.
He's doing some theaters because he got a little bit of heat. And now I use his that I write for him in my intro now when somebody brings you on stage. But you know what? Here's the
His
thing.
first
If
name
you
rhymes
create-
with Dick.
Yeah. If you create, you're going to continue to create. If you steal stuff, you're going to continue to steal stuff. And you know, for 42 years, I carry around my pad. I carry around my pens.
Yeah.
You know, and I write everything down. And that's why I got tons of material. I could do an hour and a half if I wanted to. And then every club, when I go back, I do 15 to 20 new minutes along with the old stuff because, you know, nothing makes me laugh harder than when a comedian goes, "Oh, I'm going back and I got a new hour." Well, no one knows your old hour, dude.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
when you go see James Taylor sing, if he doesn't do Fire and Rain, I'm pissed.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
They want to see the old stuff.
They
that
want to
works.
see the stuff. They want to bring their friends to go, "This is the bit I told you about."
You want to
That's
have that stuff,
right.
and you also if you got to be able to write faster than they can steal anyway.
Listen, I went to see Brian Regan. I was telling these guys about 6 months ago, and I haven't seen Brian in a while, and he was working at a
Right.
theater here. And he got done with his show, and he walked off, and people started yelling bits like he was like it was a rock concert. Ironing board, science fair. And I was like, I had never seen that before.
Walking on the moon.
Well, they used to
They
do that to
gotta-
Dice. They used to do it to Kinnison.
Could you imagine? I mean, it probably happened with Dice not doing the nursery rhymes.
I know.
That's the classic example.
Yeah.
If
You ever
Dice
work with him?
doesn't
You ever
do
open?
nursery
You ever
rhymes,
work with him?
years ago, not a long time.
No, years ago. I just remember I opened for him a couple of times and and it just that was the amazing thing. They would freaking first of all, they'd be pissed off that you were on stage and they'd be yelling for Dice and whatever. And then when he'd come on, they'd yell out his fucking bits for him to do, and it would piss him off.
Yeah. But I don't know why it would piss him off because I mean it's flattering. You know, they paid the money, they're in there. Let's just enjoy this together. But I do a lot of I'll do stuff where like this cat noise thing is a big deal now. So I do that and they ask for it, or you know, the go ahead, that whole Southern Girls thing. And there's a bunch of them I do, the grandfather laughing bit. But I gotta do that stuff because they get pissed. And I'm not famous or anything. So if I do it at a local level, if I'm at Governors or whatever, Bananas, they want to see that stuff. But then I'll do 15 minutes of 20 minutes of the newer stuff and just make them all happy. And at the end, I'll say, "Is there anything that you guys wanted me to do that I didn't do?"
Well,
and every once in a while, they'll say something. You know, and if they say it,
I go
do
see
it.
Joey Kola and he doesn't do the Bob Ross thing.
Oh, Bob Ross.
I am not going to be happy. I got to see I've seen it a million times. I'll see it a million more times.
We used to crowd into East Side when you would do that. We would all the comics would crowd into East Side.
I remember that. I remember that.
Man,
I stopped doing it. It's not politically correct, and I stopped doing it because actually, when I did it on MTV, Bob Ross saw it and he sent me a handwritten letter, a typed letter, hand signed, which I still have, and a paint kit in the mail. Wow. And and we interacted a little bit, but that's a true bit. He was a sniper in Nam, but I don't want to offend anybody. You know, there's an attitude that a lot of comics have now, which I think is just a lazy, politically correct. I'm sick of this politically correct crap, and I'm not changing it. I'm blah blah. Well, you know what? Then you're going to be in for a rude awakening because there's a wave. There's a wave, a big tidal wave of people coming into these clubs that don't want to hear that anymore. You can get away with it on Long Island if you want. You can get away with it in Pennsylvania, a lot of the middle of the country.
But that bit, I think you could change it. You could change it and make it. You could probably make it politically correct. You could just change. And I know what you're talking about. I know the parts of it that aren't politically correct.
Right.
You could probably change those parts if you wanted to make them politically correct. Because I mean, the bit is just amazing.
And it was a long time ago. It was 1918.
And the guy isn't around as much anymore either. The pit was really topical at the time.
Well, he died.
Yeah.
Well, you also had the Paulie from Rocky. That was the first thing I knew.
Yeah, I got to meet him a few times. He came to Governor's one night. There's a Burt Young, and he saw me do it. And he came to Caroline's one night and saw me do it. So I mean, look at me. I look like him. I look like him.
I love it when my favorite line is the whole movie is when he's trying to get into the movie after Rocky, the fight, and he's, hey, you're breaking the jacket.
Yeah,
you talk about politically correct. Like when I work in the Magic Castle in LA, I have to sign a waiver about you can't do this and you can't do that. Yeah,
really.
Wow. Yeah.
Because you know what,
people don't want to be offended. And I don't want to offend them. I don't want to offend everybody.
And,
I want to have fun with them.
And people are paying a lot of money to go there. You know what
Trust
I mean?
me, I would have to go over a lot of my stuff, and I couldn't do it anyway. A lot of my stuff was totally not politically correct, and I'm married to a feminist who loves pointing out the fact that
and my daughter
not politically correct.
And my daughter, the writer. Oh my God, I wrote this bit, and then it was about scary dates that I had when I was 17. And I go, we hope to scare them into our hearts and out of their genes. My daughter goes, date rape. That's out. You know what I mean? It's
I did a comedy competition 5 years ago, and I had a joke about LGBTQ, about the F word. And they're like, you really can't say that. I go, but I am one. Nah, you really can't say that.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
My son is gay, and he's with his partner for a good 3 years now. As a matter of fact, he might be coming in any minute. But he lives in Park Slope in Brooklyn, it doesn't get any more liberal than that. Right. And he's got his finger on the pulse of all that, So which gives me, and plus I'm in television. I work with Drew Barrymore now, and
I love her. I love her. My entire life.
Does.
My entire life.
What you see. What you see is what you get. She's exactly that.
And she used to be raised by David Crosby for a while.
Yeah.
And when I was with them, Crosby would never let me go to the house because he knew how much I loved her.
Oh my God. Yeah. She is a phenomenal soul.
Listen
really.
to this. Do you guys remember Alan Garber? He used to hang around. He was a kid's magician. And he goes by the name of Magic Al. This is just kind of a quick story on this. And Drew Barry was on the red carpet. And they go, so your kid just had, a birthday. And she goes, oh, my God. We were able to get Magic. It's on the red carpet. We were able to get Magic Al. What a coup. The guy is the best. And just gives this big, great promo for my friend Al. It's like the coolest thing.
Wow.
On the red carpet. Hold on a second.
I just got to open the front door and let my son in.
There you go.
We're almost done, right?
Yeah, we got about 3 minutes left.
Yeah, that's what I thought we were getting.
Meanwhile, let's look at Joey's fine china. Oh, there he is.
Hey, Joe,
I'm in my wife's grandparents' house that we bought 35 years ago. My brother added a room to it, and same place,
Are you on Long Island?
Yeah, I'm in North Belmore. I didn't really want much out of life. I wanted a pool in the backyard, like a built-in pool. I wanted a room with a fireplace, and I wanted a boat. So Rosie gave me the boat.
3 of us got pools.
I lost my virginity in North Belmore.
We all have pools.
John has a pool in his backyard. I got a pool in my backyard.
In the summertime, I spend my whole time in the pool, and in the wintertime, in front of the fireplace, and it doesn't get, that's it. That's all I want to do. I still surf cast. I surf cast for striped bass and bluefish. Me and Sussman go out, and we, I'll never give up surf casting. So that's Jake. So
tell Sussman I said
really cool here.
I thought it was a scream.
My son's here, and he's bringing his cat in. My dog is here. They're all coming in, and while I'm on the podcast. So, but all right, you might hear a cat and a dog going crazy now in a second. But
That's
Anyway.
we're about existing
We're about
reality,
ready.
man.
You know, just one thing. You talk about people stealing your stuff. Years ago, I was at a magic convention, and this guy goes, "You got to see this." He gives me a tape,
Right.
and it's like a 14-year-old kid.
Yes.
And the tape starts off. This kid walks out and goes, "And now I'd like to do my impression of my favorite comic magician," and does my entire act.
Nice.
Really?
And it was a little kid. It was like a 14-year-old kid.
Oh.
I found it really flattering. You know what I mean?
Richard, Murphy used to say that he did all of Richard Pryor's act, and I don't know if you remember, John, but remember we used to go to Rascals, and
Sure.
I was partly responsible, almost wholly responsible, for bringing Steve Harvey to Rascals because I worked Hilarities in Cleveland, and I turned Messina on to Steve Harvey. And when Steve Harvey came to Rascals, I opened up for him a few times. I worked with him a few times there. But I don't know if you remember, he looked exactly like Richard Pryor.
Yeah.
Like he had the hair and the mustache. Like if you blinked, you couldn't tell if it was Richard Pryor or Steve Harvey.
Wow.
At that point, like years ago. And whenever you would ask him, he'd just say Richard Pryor is my favorite comedian. So I guess that's why he did it. But
That's
flattery,
so yeah.
Richard Pryor was my favorite comedian, but I could never get the hair right.
It's very funny. Is Bob Woods told me this story once about a gig that you two did where it was like in Jersey somewhere. But it was so funny. Woodsy goes, he actually told me he took the gig only so he'd have a Woodsy story.
No, I don't know about that, but every time I worked with him, I had a great story.
Always.
That was a gig we did for Mike Austin. Do you remember Mike Austin?
Yeah. Oh my God.
And it was called the Silver Dollar Saloon, and Woodsy was getting $180 for 2 shows, and I was getting like 40, and I had to drive him. So we did the Friday night to like 10 people, and we get there on a Saturday night, and there's no one there. So Austin said, "Guys, the show's canceled. No one's getting paid," and he left. So Woodsy's like, "I'm getting paid. Let's find out where he went." So he took off, got in the car, and we asked the bartender, "Where is he going?" He said, "He's going to this after hours club." So we chased him to this after hours club because we went on and did the show for like 2 people, the bartender, one other guy that was there. We did our time because that's what Woodsy's thing was. I'm doing the time so I could get my money. So we chased the guy into a disco, and we were looking for Mike Austin. We couldn't find him. So Woodsy, of course, right away, he's got the beer in one hand, the joint in the other. He's walking around the club, and he must have said something to some girl. So a big, huge guy grabs Woodsy and throws him against the wall. And the guy happened to look like Mulrooney. So I look over, I go, "Woodsy, what are you doing?" He looks at me and goes, "He's got a beer in this hand, he's got a joint in this hand, and he's up against the wall. This guy's got him by the neck." And he goes, "Hey, Kola, look, Mulrooney's going to kick my ass." I got a million Woodsy stories.
Real quickly, bring it back what your story started saying. When I met George Carlin, he told me that he worked this gig upstate once. He goes, it was 2 weeks, 2 shows a night, and not at one time did any single person ever come to one of the shows. And the guy made him go on 2 shows a night.
Wow.
And I go, "Why?" And he goes, total Carlin, he goes, "I guess you figured if someone stopped in, they wanted to think it was happening." You can just see him saying that.
Well, I know. I was just going to say,
told me a story that you and him did a gig, and at the end he's going, "Did you like my show, Sheila McRae or Carly?" Now I have to kick these 2 guys' asses.
No, I'll tell you that story. That was Betty's Fireside Tavern. Remember Betty's Fireside?
Oh my God!
Yeah, you guys, we all worked it. All of us worked Betty's Fireside.
Yeah,
and I forget where it was. Somewhere in Danville, New Jersey, or something like that.
Somewhere in Jersey.
New Jersey. Hell.
Yeah, and Hell is right.
Well, you passed Netcom to get it to it. That's all I know.
It was a house that became, the front of the house was a restaurant. The back of the house was a bar that used to be a brothel back in the day, and there were rooms upstairs. But the back of it was the bar where You guys remember it was a circle, like a horseshoe bar.
It was a stripper. It was a
you
stripper.
performed
Yeah.
behind the bar.
Where the
Because it
strippers
used to be like, like a go-go club type of thing. So I said to Steve-O, he did it the week before, and I said, I heard this is a hard gig. What do I do? And he goes, if you got one of those foghorns for a boat, bring it. And the only way you're going to get their attention is blowing this horn into the microphone. So I went and got this horn. So there was a mic on either side behind us. You were on the stage. The bar was around the front of you. And then they were 9 deep with no cover charge. So I get on stage. I'm emceeing. Lance Montalto is the middle, and Woodsy's closing. So, and it was a Dennis Ross gig. And Dennis Ross was there in the beginning. He said, I got to leave, but I'm coming back to pay you guys. I said, okay. So I start doing like 3 minutes, 4 minutes, and I'm bombing. No one's listening. They're 9 deep. They're yelling at me. So I take the horn, and as they're getting louder, and I go, and I blow out the speaker on the right. So now we don't have 2 speakers. We have 1. So now the gig is even worse now from the beginning. So I bring on Lance Montalto. He bombs. He does like 20 minutes, and he bombs. Then I bring up Woodsy. Now, Woodsy starts doing his act, and some guy named Joe, he's a sanitation worker. He's there with 9 of his friends, and he starts yelling at Woodsy, you suck, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, pal, at the end of the show, I am going to kick your ass, but I got to do my time so I can get my money. So he starts to do his act, and I never seen anybody get heckled so much. Like all of them, this guy Joe's 9 friends and everybody else. And what I'm telling you, they're 2 or 3 deep at the bar, and there's got to be 50, 60 people crowded around the bar trying to get drinks from the bartender who's right in front of you, yelling, just no one's paying attention at all. So Woodsy's doing his act. He's hanging in there, just still doing his act. And finally he gets to the end of his act, and he gets on like 1 foot, and he goes, ta-da! Now we see if I'm going to kick the shit out of this guy and all his friends. So I jump on the stage, and Woodsy leaves the stage. And from the stage, I'm looking down, and I see him like making his way around to the guy. And I go, let's hear it for. And as soon as I say that, all you hear is this, like flesh hitting.
We would have been best pals, me and Woodsy.
He's got a guy here under this arm and a guy under this arm, and he's swinging him. He's whipping them. He's got all you see is the heads, and he's whipping their bodies around as he's trying to punch other people. It's Blazing Saddles at the end, the big brawl. I'm on stage. I jump off the front of the stage because I can't get off the stage now. Everybody's fighting. So I jump off the front of the stage, and I see Dennis Ross, and I call him over. We're on our hands and knees, and he's paying me behind the bar. He goes, give the guys their money. I'm not staying around. I'm leaving out the front. He goes, that's what you should do. Don't go out the back. There's no way to get out, and they're calling the cops. Just go out the front.
Oh my
so
God.
I run into the kitchen. So I'm looking all over for Lance Montalto. I can't find him. Woodsy's in the middle of this major battle. They tore his shirt, everything, right? So I'm looking for this guy, and I look in the kitchen, and Lance Montalto is with like a waitress in the kitchen. And they were like, yeah, lovey-dovey. And I go, Lance, you better put your shirt on, dude, because I'm bringing the car around. And I had a little 1985 Nissan Sentra, 2-door, this little tiny car. I'm bringing the car around. You guys got to jump in this car because we got to get out of here. These people are going to kill us. So I run out. I tell Lance, and I go, if he can grab Woodsy, tell him Woodsy to come around to the front. So I bring the car around the front. A little while later, Lance comes out, and we're waiting and waiting. Like 10 minutes later, Woodsy comes out. His shirt is completely ripped. He's bleeding. He's got a Michelob in his hand, and he's drinking it as he's running to the car. His hair is a mess. He runs in the car, jumps in the car, and he goes, I told you I was going to kick their ass. He goes, did you get the money? I said, yeah, I gave you the money. So we get in the car. I'm starting to drive, and we're down like a back road somewhere trying to get to the turnpike. And about 5 minutes into the drive, like these guys in this pickup truck, like 10 of them, start bumping the back of my car.
Oh, shit.
They came up to the back of the car, and they just hit and I'm in a little 4-cylinder 85 Nissan Sentra, and I got Woods, who's 300 pounds, so he's weighing the car down. Like the whole car was like this because of Woods. So, and I'm like, just trying to get to the turnpike. and these guys in the pickup truck were bashing the back of the car. So I got to the turnpike, kept going. They let us go, but I had to get a new trunk, a new trunk on the back of my car
Bumper
because it was all bashed in from those guys. They were obviously from Betty's Fireside, and they tracked us. They chased us and bashed the back of my car in.
Oh my!
And that's another
God.
Woodsy story.
There's always been Woodsy stories.
I got to tell you, Joey,
that was me when I was drinking. That's why I had to give it up, because I was the same way.
Joey,
I just had no problem stepping over and hitting somebody.
I thought I was crazy when me, Rob Graydon, Gary Valentine, and Steve Strango tried to do improv at Betty's Fireside.
Oh my God!
Which is probably just as dangerous.
We need a suggestion. Go fuck yourself. Okay, we got that.
Why would you do that?
Because we were crazy. We were crazy.
Hey guys, we got to go, man. We are so over the time.
Oh no,
guys! It's been great talking to you guys. It's great.
It was great, Jared. Joey, have a great
hanging out with you, buddy.
You all got my number. Call me anytime if you need anything. And John tells Jeff I owe him a phone call. I know. I'll call him around the holidays.
Joey,
tell
you hello.
Tell your beautiful wife Lenore.
Tell the Long Island guys I said
will.
Hey.
Thank you, guys.
I'd
like to see you come back and do it. I mean, by the way, the comedy scene on Long Island is thriving now. The Governors has 3 clubs and there's other things, and it's really thriving now. So I'd love to see you guys come back and maybe do sets,
Very cool. We'd love
if it's worth it for you. So.
Thanks, Joey.
All righty.
Nice talking to you guys. Merry Christmas.
All right. Merry
Christmas, Joey. God bless you.
All right.
You too. Bye. See you later. God bless you too.
Bye, Joey.
Well, let's have a round of applause for Joey Kola.
Hey!
All right, everybody. Well, that's the end of our show, and we want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. And I guess we will see you before the New Year, right?
No, we won't.
No, okay. So
we're not back until I think January 6th. We come back.
Wow. All right. So have a Happy New Year and a Merry Christmas.
Have a holly jolly Christmas. I should do my poem.
And Mike, do you have a poem for us?
Yes, my Christmas poem. My Christmas love poem. You ready?
Christmas love poem.
Yes.
'Twas the night before Christmas, and there on my couch, Santa's dead, mutilated body was strewn through my house. His head was laying by my chimney there, and a trickle of blood ran down from his hair. You see, I'd taken his goodies, then his wallet and gold chains, and then hacked to pieces Santa's mortal remains. See, if he wanted to live, then good old Saint Nick shouldn't have walked in my bedroom when I was playing with my toys.
Toothpick.
My dick.
And hey, and on the other end of the spectrum, I think we have one more closing video, right?
We do, and let's share that right now.